Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. So we have Galahad out on Pioneer server, and from the preliminary testing, she is doing pretty well in Dream Realm. She's actually in the top team for Blightstream Dream Realm boss today, and we will show you the replay of that. But first of all, we're going to go through her detailed skill information as it stands on Pioneer. Keep in mind this content is subject to change by the time of her global release, which is going to be still 12 days from right now. Okay, so her ultimate ability Temporal Field is going to begin with 400 pre-fill energy, which is good because she really relies on her ultimate in order to get value out of her kit. Now, when Galahad casts her ultimate, she consumes 400 energy to deal damage to all enemies. She then begins forming a 2-tile radius magic circle centered on her position. The circle remains active as long as Galahad stays at its center. So this is now another sort of prerequisite, is that Gala needs to remain in her center in order to fully charge her circle even after casting. However, the good news is that she does begin with pre-fill energy of 400, and it only costs 400 to cast her basically just cast her ultimate, and so this should be getting going early on into the match, but she needs to remain in the middle of the circle. Then while the magic circle is forming, Galahad will consume 60 energy every second to increase the circle's power level by 10%, which means in total it's going to be 10 seconds, because every second increased by 10%, in total we'll have to go to 100%. She stops consuming energy and gains 30 haste. So this is another problem, right? It's going to take 10 seconds to fully charge her magic circle. So even if she can get off an ultimate early on thanks to the energy, this is just going to be a really long time to wait. And the other problem is she is going to be countered by Dunlingers in PvP specifically, because she is a very ultimate reliant hero. And so Dunlinger is going to completely shut her down. Anyway, she stops consuming energy and gains 30 haste. So the 30 haste buff for herself is actually really important, and we're going to see exactly why. But basically, it's just going to allow her to cycle her cooldowns more frequently. And she has a really important skill for her damage in Dream Realm. Then enemies inside the magic circle will lose 10 haste. Realistically, she's going to be a back-ranged hero. Probably not many enemies are even going to come into range, but they will lose 10 haste, 16% movement speed for every 10% of the circle's power level, up to a maximum reduction of 50 haste and 80% movement speed. Now, obviously, these debuffs are massive, but again, realistically, what enemies are running into Galahad's range? Like, you're going to have her as a backline hero on your side. However, it could be if, for example, assassins or heroes who are running up later on into the fight, then they're going to be pretty massively debuffed. But again, I don't really see the value of this, and for boss content, Dream Realm is not really going to be great. Obviously, it doesn't help at all. While Galahad stays at the center of her circle whenever she casts her skill, a shadow of herself appears shortly after and casts the same skill, and this will be all non-ultimate based skills, basically, I believe, her other skills, and the shadow will inherit 60% plus 5% ultimate power of Galahad stats. So this is really important. So the shadow is going to be like a nerfed version of herself. It will be 60% of her stats, but for ultimate power from the blast charms, you know, which are her recommended charms, is going to be 80% of Galahad stats, which is not bad. Then it's going pretty close to her basically damage output, and then the damage of this ability is pretty high, 400% AoE damage, and then 40 for each ultimate power, so 560% nuke altogether. And so in PvP, basically how she's being used is just as this ultimate nuker right from the beginning of the match, and just dealing high AoE damage. But of course, Dunlinger will counter it, and if they have a Lily May, you'll have to have some hero to take a Lily May interruption, but basically that is what it is looking like for her. However, this damage is not going to be enough to nuke through really tanky comps like Ludovic Callan type comps and things like that, so that is another thing to keep in mind. Okay, so Binding Loop, this is an 8-second cooldown, and this is going to be her HP loss damage skill. So this is in PvP, it will immobilize enemies, right? And it deals damage to the enemy who has dealt the most cumulative damage, basically the highest damage output on the enemy team, and immobilize them for 4 seconds, which is some nice utility. The immobilized target cannot move or act, and they lose HP equal to 50% of the excess healing they have received since they were last immobilized. So in PvP, it will be basically the amount 50% of the healing that they've received. And the HP loss it will be capped at 300% of Gala's attack. However, for boss content, obviously the boss is not going to be getting healed, but when fighting against bosses, the HP loss will become fixed at 150%. So basically, her HP loss damage multiplier is 150% on an 8-second cooldown, which on its own, that is not enough. When we look at Ludovic with the insight charms is 380% attack, basically effective multiplier HP loss damage on an 8-second cooldown. Gala is only 150%. However, the way that Gala comes into play, her shadow will also recast this skill, and her shadow will have 80% of her stats. So basically, if we want to do 80% of 150%, that's going to be 120%. So we're going to add 150% of Gala's own and 120% of the shadow, and that is going to be 270%. So 270% attack multiplier on an 8-second cooldown. She also does have the 30 haste of her own, so she is going to cycle her own skill slightly faster than Ludovic. So now she's coming close to basically the damage output potential of Ludovic. Even though Gala's multipliers technically are lower than a fully charmed out Ludovic, Gala will have higher attack of her own being a mage hero, and also she's going to be running the blast charms for that bonus attack, which for example Ludovic is not running. Ludovic has insight charms, so he doesn't get any bonus attack from that. So overall, Gala still is going to rival the damage of Ludovic just from what we've seen so far, and she has more important things which are going to power up your team damage even more. So Chrono Ward, this is not interesting really. It's just a shield of 340% that lasts for 8 seconds to the weakest ally and deals some damage to adjacent enemies. Nothing really to see here, so we're going to skip over it. And then the Hero Focus. So Hero Focus is going to increase her attack by 15% during battle, and another 10% when her magic circle is fully formed. So that's going to be 25% attack boost for Dream Realm, which is also going to increase her damage output. So this is a nice hero focus to have. And then you have her exclusive skill. So Time Recast, it is a long description. When a battle starts, Galahad marks the nearest allied hero, prioritizing the one behind her. When Galahad's magic circle fully forms for the first time, she summons a shadow that recreates a marked ally as they were at the start of battle. The shadow remains on the battlefield for 12 seconds, so it isn't going to be the whole fight. However, it is going to be some bonus damage output from that hero, inheriting 80% of the allies' basic stats, and starting with 400 extra initial energy. A shadow is not considered a living hero, and cannot be targeted by enemies. And the other thing that people have seen is if this buff can be given to the twins should be able to cast another ultimate in the shadow form, and then double up the haste buff onto your entire team. Now, haste does have diminishing returns, so I don't know if that is the best strategy rather than just duplicating a damage dealer. However, these are interesting things to keep in mind, that like having the shadow clone version of a supportive hero can actually be useful. Yeah. So level 2, the Summon Shadow now inherits 100% of the marked allies' basic stats. So this is at +5 exclusive equipment, and that is really good. And then level 3, when Galahad's magic circle is fully formed for the first time, Magister Merlin's skills grant stat buffs that are 20% stronger and last 100% longer. This is very strong as well. So for example, previously, like if you would have a stat buff, like I guess from like Blood Moon artifact, maybe even Divine Favor artifact, they provide an attack buff to the allies on the team. And now, after Galahad's magic circle is fully formed, so this will be, you have to not only cast her ultimate, but you have to wait that 10-second period of her fully charging it while remaining in the center. Then all of the Merlin skills will grant stat buffs that are 20% stronger, and also they're going to last 100% longer. So really for Blood Moon, when you think about it, I think it has a 6-second duration that it lasts for. It's going to last for 12 seconds, and this is going to be for all allies, and also 20% more effective buffs. Now, I don't know if this is going to apply to the actual stats, which are just provided by the artifact, like without the active effect. This might only be active, amplifying the active effect. That's what it sounds like here. Every time Master Merlin casts a skill, a shadow of Merlin appears nearby and casts the same skill again, causing 60% as much HP loss as Merlin's original skill does. So not as high damage output, but still, it is going to be a recast with some bonus damage. And then the Summon Shadow now inherits 120% of Marked Allies' basic stats, so they're actually going to be a more empowered version of them for those 12 seconds that they are on the battlefield for, which is interesting. So definitely this ability to power up the buffs from the artifacts is going to be also useful for Dream Realm. This is how you're going to further basically increase the value onto your team, especially with artifacts like Blood Moon Spell. And that's actually probably why the top team today in Dream Realm for Blightshroom on the Pioneer server is Galahad with Blightshroom Spell. And then you have the Enhanced Force. So this is in Chinese, but I'll show you the English description. Basically, when the ally, or when Galahad is receiving a buff from Merlin, so that is going to be from Merlin's artifact, basically, activation, then she is going to be unaffected. I think this is going to be unaffected, as you see here, cannot be knocked into the air, knocked back, or involuntarily moved. And she's going to gain 40 energy per second, energy recovery just base. Then on top of that, this effect can only last for 30 seconds. So this effect will last for 30 seconds, but like if you're talking about PvP, that is long enough, right? 30-second match. However, because she needs basically an artifact buff to trigger onto her to receive these buffs, this unaffected state, an enemy siren in PvP is going to completely shut her down, because then she is not going to be able to get the value from her Supreme Plus skill, because your own Merlin's artifact is going to be delayed. Then she won't be unaffected, and that is going to cause other problems in PvP, right? For Dream Realm, this doesn't really matter. Like, the energy recovery is basically all that matters, because unaffected in Dream Realm usually doesn't matter for much, but in Primal Lord it could technically matter. Okay, now we're going to show you the Dream Realm top team. This is the top team of today, and it does seem to be outperforming other teams by a sizable margin. It is with Mihira, but of course, without Mihira, there will be Fresto options and things like that. With the Blood Moon spell, we thought that had great synergy with Gala. And when you take a look at the damage chart, Gala is actually topping the damage chart here, and she's basically just going to be that rearmost hero who will never actually cast her ultimate. Or sorry, she will cast her ultimate one time, and that's all it takes, right? So let's go ahead and see what happens here. She's gonna cast her ultimate. The thing is though, she still has to fill up to 1,000 energy before she casts her ultimate. And this is something I find strange, because it says it only needs 400 energy to cast. However, she still needs to charge up to 1,000 energy before she's ever going to be able to cast it. And so that's why you still want to have a rearmost, so that she can fully cast it and charge her magic circle. And now here they summon a copy of Baelran. So another Baelran goes up, right, and begins attacking. And interestingly, the twins don't even provide a haste buff. Right? Because they never get off their ultimate, which is, I don't know, like, this seems really strange to me. But yeah, that is going to be a copy of Baelran that comes up and starts attacking, and it will originate basically right where Gala is, probably in that hex in front of her, actually, is probably where it's going to originate. So there you basically have it, guys, for the Dream Realm side of things. For PvP, we do have some replays shared by Shorty, and I will show you maybe one of them. However, basically, the thing about it is that she, like we said, she is counter-rolled by Dunlinger. She needs to get off her ultimate, but if you have like an energy boosting comp, like we have here, Hugin, Rowan, you can see that her nuke can be pretty powerful if the enemy also doesn't have great survival or shielding. Now here, actually, they had an enemy siren, which is interesting, because then that is going to block our artifact. But even despite that, Gala is going to charge up her energy, cast her ultimate, and get that big AoE damage nuke, thanks to Rowan energy boosting. And then, yeah, so that's basically a way that you can use Gala in PvP. She's fine, but she's not going to be anything game-changing, right, in terms of PvP. So that's basically the thing. And she is completely ultimate reliant. And unfortunately, you are going to need to charge up to 1,000 energy even before casting, even though it only is a 400 energy cost. But for Dream Realm, that's fine. There's no issues there. So anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully it's helpful. Let me know what you think about Gala in the comment section down below. Of course, this is on the Pioneer server, and there's 12 days of testing that will go on. So we will update you on all of this, and I think there's even potential that there could be some buffs or changes to Galahad before a global release. And really, if she got any more buffs from this point, she's going to be basically solidified for Dream Realm Endless. However, of course, it is only for Endless meta, because she has HP loss damage. She doesn't have true damage. damage. She's not going to be good pre-endless, but for endless meta, she is probably going to be a really must-have hero. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. If you are thinking about making a purchase in AFK Journey, please use my affiliate link for the official Farlight store. This is the best way you can support me and also gain 5% bonus dragon crystals on your purchase. My affiliate link is in the description of this video and a pinned comment, and you can actually bookmark or favorite that link in your browser or mobile device, and whenever you're planning to make a purchase, you can just return to that bookmarked link and the purchase will support me and be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.